Hi guys, my name is Evan, one of your mods from Littleroot Lessons and the lead coordinator for our LML, Littleroot Multi-Battle League. So this is week 4. We are at the halfway point of our regular season. So exactly at the halfway point, there are 4 more weeks to go for our teams to play and try to climb the leaderboard to get to playoffs. Then, so this is another weekly recap, and then if you can see on screen here with me, I have the 2 members of Las Vegas Primarinas, and they have a lot of points. Say hi, guys.
Yo.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yeah, so that was KS and Pokert. So today we'll be going through all the stuff as usual. Then first I'm going to go through the trades that actually happen, because we do trades on even weeks, and then the matches we're going to try and do a play-by-play, because some matches weren't streamed but they were still recorded, so that's not bad. And then in the end, then we'll talk about the leaderboard and the kill leaders really quickly. So I'm going to go through the trades now, and there's a lot of questions, so I might ask you guys what you guys think. So if you're on my stream, you should be able to see it on the screen right now. So let's go through the teams one by one based on reverse standing. So I gave the priority to PokePals, followed by the one on the right, Omanytes, then Xerneas at the bottom, and then Rapidazz last, because Rapidazz has the most differential points. Yeah. Okay, Josh, you're just in time. Welcome. So, there were no clashes, so that means all the trades should go through. Yeah, so let's go through the first one. From PokePals, they traded Scotch for Alolan Dugtrio. Then I was wondering why Alolan Dugtrio instead of the Kanto one, because the Kanto one is 120 speed stat, so it's a bit faster. But then Guard from PokePals, he confirmed that it is the Alolan version that they wanted. So I think that's interesting. But based on usage stats, I just need to say that the Scotch hasn't seen play at all in the first 4 weeks. So maybe they just wanted to trade to something that they are more comfortable with. What do you guys think? It's an additional ground and steel type, types that they already have. Solrock.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it makes that much of a difference to the team, I think. I mean, they got a little faster, which is good, but...
Yeah, they were already pretty fast though, and then they doubled up on ground and steel, where Scorch was only doubling the fire type, and then they do... We were talking about this earlier, they did get rid of some like double weaknesses that they were having, like Airstream, but then they also have still fire type weakness and then like fighting type weakness, which Darmanitan and Cobalion both shared with it, so...
Yeah.
I guess it's just different. And then you got another ground weak as well.
Yeah, it's just different. I'm not sure if it...
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it makes that much of a difference for their team.
I feel like Scorch is good because it's just a good max option, but then Dugtrio is like another beat up thing if they wanted to do that. But they already had Whimsicott, so I'm not
and Whimsicott's
for sure what they're doing there.
I'm wondering if it will be interesting if you can act like an Excadrill and then always boost up with Max Quick and Max Steel Spike. Then the beat up is a good point. And I think mainly they just felt like, I feel that they want to eliminate another rock weakness, because Toko and Darmanitan, most of the time they would come to the match, and then they didn't want to increase another weakness to rock, maybe, because Scotch is 4x weak to rock.
Yeah.
Oh well. So that's for PokePals. Hopefully the Dugtrio can put in some use, because it will look quite goofy on stream or in a match.
From the back or from the front? Probably both.
I don't know. Okay, so next up for the Omanytes, this is actually their second week doing trades. So actually in the first week they did put indicate Hexerus for Barraskewda as a backup in case one of their picks get sniped. But then their trades all went through, so yeah, they changed again with Hexerus into Barraskewda, taking away their Dragon type and adding Rain Abuser, with the help of Pelipper, or even something that can avoid redirection. So I'm quite okay with this trade, because I personally like Barraskewda, although I was a try-hard and I couldn't make it work.
Yeah, I think it can work in this situation. I mean, losing the Dragon type is big, but I don't think Haxorus is that great either. So having Barraskewda, which is going to be their fastest mon, and it can be the fastest mon like possible if it's a Swift Swim Barraskewda in rain, then you don't have to invest a lot in speed in Draft League, right? So if you have a 136 base speed stat and it's Swift Swim and let's say they don't have redirection, then you basically don't even have to put anything in speed and you can use as much bulk as you want. And it can still do a lot of damage.
I'm thinking, right, it might be possible that they want to have another mon to help counter rock types, because Thunderous and Volcarona and Pelipper and Fetchinder are all weak to rock. Yeah, so
well, it also helps with their ice type weakness, right?
Correct. So Hexerus,
they have a lot of ice weak mons, like including Haxorus, and that changed that up.
Yeah, I think overall a good pickup. And then somehow Hexerus hasn't been working as well for them. I think they only brought Hexerus for 1 week. So
yeah, this week.
Yeah, sounds good. So hopefully the Barraskewda will help. And Barraskewda is very interesting. Like you rarely see it in the VGC meta these days because it's just so frail. But then in a draft league format, like what KS is saying, you can take away some speed EVs and then maybe put them into bulk. And then Dynamax Barraskewda can be quite scary because its attack stat is quite high. Okay, so next up we have Xerneas Mamma Mia, and they are probably sleeping right now. It's 7 AM, and man, it's like a pretty big overhaul. Like they can't trade anything else, right? So they traded their A tiers. I mean, I'm not sure why they didn't trade their C tiers, but wow, Entei and Weezing. Weezing helped them so much in the previous, in week 3, and then they're trading it away. So they're picking up Rotom Heat and Bravery. Whoa. I don't know what to think though, because I personally like Entei more as a fire type. Because Rotom Heat only gets 1 fire move.
Yeah, they got rid of some of their ground weakness with Rotom, right? But then I really liked how they were using Entei and Weezing before. Like Weezing to just shut down opponent abilities was really good, and then after they got the hail up with like Ninetales or for example Garchomp or Persian, they don't need the ability too much, so it was fine for them to put Weezing out on the field and then like do Taunt and Will-O-Wisp and stuff like that. I think Rotom Heat is a good one though. I'm just not sure I'm not super sure it's better than Entei, but it's definitely different.
Here's a very quick fun fact. The Rotom Heat is weak to Mold Breaker. There are only a few Mold Breaker mons with ground moves in the game. Hexerus is one of them. Hexerus is gone.
If they wanted to make the trade for Rotom Heat, I don't think they could keep Weezing, right? So they had to get rid of Weezing if they wanted the Rotom Heat, because you don't want to lose Levitate in that situation, right? Then what's the point of getting rid of your ground weakness?
Nice. That's a very good point, yeah. So, wow, trading away 2 ground weaks for 2 ground resist, and then adding an option of Tailwind, I think I like. Yeah, the more we talk about it, I think the trades make sense. I think Bravery will help. Yeah, having a Defiant Mon on the field, for, you can maybe discourage Intimidate, so Sceptile, Buzzwole, and even Trevenant can do more damage. Oh, and especially Garchomp.
Yeah.
Nice.
So like in the matchup against us, right? They had a problem with their speed stat, right? With Alolan Persian being the only like really fast mon. So they went straight to a Trick Room
Correct.
as their speed control, and they could, if they have Tailwind now they can actually go fast, right? So Sceptile is the other option for speed control by having Unburden, but now they can go fast without always having to proc Unburden and either having, Sceptile be the weakness policy mon all the time. So
Yeah. Oh, Lemmy has a good point too. There are two things that they can EQ next to. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was thinking if they were gonna do something like EQ, right? It'd be Garchomp, then they could still have Wheezing. They would just switch out Wheezing into Rotom or something.
Oh. But then, that switch might be a bit predictable. Maybe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Okay. So that's all for Xerneas Mamma Mia. Hopefully these two mons will help them get more wins to climb the leaderboard. After this week's loss. Womp womp. So next one is Galarian Rapidazz. Like a very very strong team based on performance, right? And trading away two very strong mons also based on performance. If you guys scroll in the leaderboard, you will see that now Zacian and Politoed, although they are on the leaderboard, the team name says homeless. Because someone just abandoned them. Oh man, so sad. So they traded Zacian for Dialga. They have the ability to, because trading a U tier sort of gives you a lot of power. At the same time, it gives you a lot of restrictions, but they were still able to make full use of it because not a lot of us picked up U tiers during the draft. So, both being steel types and then even both equally bulky, I would say. I think Dialga even a bit bulkier than Zacian, especially when Dialga can Dynamax. Then Politoed into Liepard. It's a bit strange, but then it just gives them more options to be sneaky, especially with Prankster. So, I personally think that this is not a very good trade, from Politoed to Liepard, but then maybe they had other ideas. So what do you guys think? Question mark?
You can go first.
Okay. So I actually like this trade a lot. For both ones, the Politoed Liepard and the Zacian one. It lets them use their Trick Room mode more because they couldn't use it before, really. So now they can.
Makes sense.
And also, they were having problems with unlocking Moltres because Politoed always set the rain.
Yeah.
And now they don't have to have that problem anymore, right? They can even help Moltres by setting up Sun because Liepard can set up both weathers.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so. Having Dialga right instead of Zacian, it makes it a way more bulky, better max option that you have now because Zacian can't even max in the first place. But then they were playing Zacian quite well before. They would protect on the right turns and they would sub. And they would, put a ton of offensive pressure on. So I'm pretty surprised that they got rid of it mid-season, but that's fine. The Politoed into Liepard, having Liepard's really nice, but then they were doing stuff before where they would trap in an opponent with Kingdra, with Gothorita, and then they would switch in Politoed if they wanted to get the big Geyser speed boost and the extra damage on their Geyser. Or they could just stay in with Gothorita in Trick Room or something and switch out Kingdra or do a bunch of different options. With Liepard, it's a bit more predictable, but they do have a fake out option now and they can set manual weather, so that's nice for them.
Yeah, so I feel like the Rapidazz, although they are way ahead of the competition, I think they just want to maybe try out more things and then try their best to make the team better, in preparation for the playoffs. So not too bad. And
I think the one thing about Zacian that Dialga has is coverage. Zacian's coverage is very limited, whereas Dialga's coverage is a lot better.
Yeah, Dialga has just I think just a little bit more coverage than Zacian, because I think Zacian's not too bad, especially with Fairy move. Although it's 90%, play rough. Then it also has something like Wild Charge, right, or some electric move. So it's not too bad. But then I think you're right. Maybe Dialga just gives a bit more options, minus the Fairy type coverage. So maybe they looked at the teams that they had to face remaining, right, and then they feel that they don't really need that Fairy type coverage because the Dragon type coverage can also do well. Yeah,
Yeah.
into Dracovish, question mark. Who is Dracovish? I'm not sure. Okay, so that's all for our trades this week. Let's go. Yeah. Any closing thoughts? Yeah, that was half
The
an
trades
hour.
overall are pretty good, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
not
all
too
I
bad. So I think I think the trades these teams actually like go forward to check out the log and see what mons are left, and then still try and keep striving to improve their teams in preparation for the playoffs, because our teams are locked for the playoffs. So yeah, very good ideas overall, and hopefully all these mons will help these teams in the next few weeks. Then yep, that's all. So now let's go through week 1 matchup. Okay, I assigned it to you, right, Joe?
Okay.
So let's go with the play-by-play.
So this game is Last Buffet versus Texas Tyrunts, and the leads was Omastar Bronzong for Texas Tyrunts, and then Lopunny Solgaleo for Last Buffet. Turn 1, the Omastar and the Bronzong both protected. The Solgaleo maxed, and the Lopunny fake-outed into Bronzong, which protected. And the Solgaleo max quaked into Omastar, which also protected. It did like, what, 30%? The turn 2, Lopunny brutal swings to proc the Solgaleo's weakness policy, and then they max quake into Omastar again and KOs it, and then Bronzong is free to set up Trick Room. Turn 3, Purloin switches in for Omastar. Purloin tricks the eject button onto the Solgaleo, and Bronzong body presses, so the Solgaleo's out of there. Lopunny hard switches into Suicune, and the Solgaleo's gone, so they only got one turn of max and Incin's forced in. Turn 4, Purloin hard switches into Seismitoad. Incin Flare Blitz goes into the Seismitoad and does 20%. Bronzong body presses the Incin, and Suicune gets a Calm Mind off. Turn 5, Bronzong is turned to max, so Bronzong doesn't, and they body press the Suicune again to get chip onto it, and Seismitoad Earth powers into a Shukaberry Incin. Incin survives at 1 HP, and Flare Blitz goes into Bronzong, and it does KO it. And then Incin goes down to Recoil, and Suicune gets another Calm Mind off. Turn 6, Seismitoad maxes. Bronzong and Solgaleo both protect. Seismitoad max quakes into a protecting Solgaleo. Suicune scalds into Bronzong's protect, and Trick Room ends. Turn 7, Solgaleo hard switches into Obstagoon. Suicune scalds into Bronzong for a KO. Seismitoad max quakes into Obstagoon, doing 75%. Turn 8, Magearna switches in for Bronzong, revealing an air balloon. Obstagoon snarls, and Suicune Calm Minds again. Seismitoad max oozes into the Suicune to reverse a snarl, so they end up in neutral. And Magearna Trick Rooms. Turn 9, Seismitoad Earth powers to KO the Obstagoon, and Magearna gets a +1 from Soul Heart, and they Flare Cannon into Suicune, doing 30% into +2 special defense Suicune. Suicune goes for a Scald, doing 55% to Magearna. Magearna protects. Seismitoad Earth powers to KO Solgaleo. Suicune goes for a rest and eats Chesto Berry. Now it's a 2v1 against the Suicune slot. Seismitoad goes for an Earth power. Magearna goes for a Shadow Ball, and both only do 15% to Suicune. And then Suicune scalds to KO the Magearna. Tyrantrum switch in for Magearna. Seismitoad Earth powers, and Tyrantrum's head smash is enough to KO the Suicune. Lopunny switches in, and Lopunny goes for Teeter Dance, hoping for some confusion, but Tyrantrum goes through and head smashes anyway to KO it. And then Rotom is left by itself. Rotom goes for a Thunderbolt to KO the Tyrantrum. Seismitoad snaps out of confusion and goes into Sludge Bomb into Rotom, but doesn't KO. And then just at the end, they ended up being able to protect their Seismitoad to timer stall the Rotom out, and they ended up taking the win.
Nice. Oh, I made a mistake. I think the Incin was Assault Vest. It wasn't Shukaberry.
Shukaberry. Yeah.
Tyrantrum scared me, and we were the ones using it. Yeah, I was so surprised with the head smash damage into the Suicune.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
I didn't expect to.
I wasn't expecting it to do that much, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow. So that's how powerful your mascot is. Then I think a few points from my end. Turn 1 Double Protect was super good because the Solgaleo, if it's being led, then most probably it should have to max on turn 1, because on turn 2 it cannot max. Then maybe you just want to try to snipe both your mons fast to try and deny Trick Room, but in the end, the Bronzong was still easily able to set up Trick Room. Then I think there was a point where Obstagoon had the option to Snarl or Taunt into Magearna, Yeah, but he went for Snarl instead. Yeah, and then that Max Ooze from Seismito really caught the buffet off guard, and I think it helped so much and always maintain Magiana special attack stat. So that was good.
Yeah. I think at the start of the game, it was definitely smart to protect both of their Mons in front of that lead, but then I think from the last buffet's end, it was a bit unnecessary to max Solgaleo right away, because if they had like Magirna or something, you can feel good about maxing it, but then against Omastar Bronzong, it's not like really necessary. They could have switched or they could have just attacked regularly. And then, of course, like it's really hard to predict that the Purloin with the eject button is sitting in the back, but that's
Yeah.
what happened because they maxed early. They got punished for that, and they took an eject button.
And they only
without
had
taking-
one turn of max of
Yeah,
Solgaleo,
exactly.
which is a bit
And then
sad.
their special defense boost, I think they needed those, and they got taken out, so they were wasted. But
Yeah,
Tyrant
so
played this one very well.
no, I agree. A couple of things that I really liked with this one was actually the Magirna set. It's the first time, or one of the first times, that they didn't run weakness policy.
Mhm.
So they gave themselves a chance to take a max quake or switch into a max quake with Magirna and just let Soulheart do the boosting as opposed to like needing to have policy on it. So I think that actually really helped them. And like Seismitoad did work as the max option, which let Magirna kind of do other things like set Trick Room, be support, and do damage, which I liked. And then I think you're right about the turn one max. Like, there's no way for them to stop Trick Room, right? So no matter what they did, all they were going to do is stop Trick Room for one turn. So if they fake out Bronzong, they stop Trick Room that turn, but they're not stopping Trick Room the turn after. So they had no way to do it. So in that particular situation, do you want Solgaleo maxed in Trick Room? I wouldn't. So like, just knowing that I can't stop Trick Room, I either double attack there or I switch Solgaleo out. So we can deal with Trick Room later.
Yeah.
I think switching Solgaleo makes a lot of sense because if they sit in there, like the Bronzong had Levitate this time, right, and not Heat Proof, so their set was Steel move, Psychic move, and Ground move, so they can't really do anything into Bronzong. And by the time they get up Trick Room, they're going to be Iron Defensing, so like Solgaleo's not doing much. They have to attack the other slot, and then they just give Bronzong a ton of time to like Iron Defense or do whatever it wants to. So that was it was a bit risky to just max right away, and they didn't even end up getting a KO for it at the start.
I just think that there's like no reason because you can't stop Trick Room there. Like you're just not going to be able to. You can stall it for one turn with the fake out, but that's it. So
they also needed max at the end with Solgaleo for Magirna specifically. Like if they chose to max Magirna, then they need to have Solgaleo maxed.
Good point, especially with the max quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was impulsive to max Solgaleo on turn 1. I Roomba go and then I think that Omastar might even have done a bit more cheap damage, maybe into the Lopunny, right? So because Crab said that they cowed, and then actually Omastar can survive a max quick that is not stabbed from Solgaleo. Then I thought the Calm Mind and Rest set was actually pretty good because the buffet actually recognized that nothing much can touch Suicune. Yeah, barring that super a lot of like the crazy damage output from Tyrantrum, but I really think that that's a very good idea to go for the Calm Mind even in Trick Room to set up the Suicune, but in the end, unfortunately, it didn't play out. And then I think the timer did a number to Buffet as well in this game, because actually if the timer didn't run out, they might still be able to get one extra KO on the Seismitoad with Rotom, but the last mon would be Purloin, and then Rotom would be at -2 because of Leaf Storm. So it's still a bit iffy in the end game, but I think props to Tyrunts for having good prep and playing the game out pretty well.
Yeah, I think both teams played well. Like even though Last Buffet lost, they still did well in the end game, even though they kind of they did waste their max, and then they kind of wasted the early turns of the game. But they were able to get it close with a 2v1, and then if they just had a bit more time, they could have done some work with Rotom at the end. Yep. And yeah, I like their Suicune set again, like you said.
Yeah, overall this was a really good game.
But I'm not sure why they wouldn't bring Appleton in this match. I think Appleton had a really good matchup because you know, that team is gonna like go for Trick Room a lot,
Yeah.
and Appleton can, you know, really set up in their faces. So
I
that
think
would
they
have
were
been
too
a
scared of
good.
Magirna, right? Because last time, like the Genesect with a +1, it was doing
Yeah.
so much with the Bug Buzz, and then Magirna would kind of do the same thing with Fairy Move. So I think that's what they were thinking. But Appleton is
that's
still a good
why
idea, though.
that's why
They just
they
had to
left
get rid of Magirna.
that's why they left 2 of their fairy weakness in the bench.
Yeah.
Maybe, And then I also want to mention to Texas Tyrunts, wow, you guys didn't bring Charjabug and Togepi into the game finally. Do you guys heed our advice
They
last
didn't even
week?
bring Tornadus. That's
Yeah.
like kind of surprising, but it makes sense. They did this really well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Also identifying that like the Appleton will be very threatened, then bringing both the Omastar and Seismitoad with 4x weak to grass. Like, you know, if maybe last buffet happen to want to bring Rotom and then max Rotom on turn 1, then that player 2 slot is gonna eat max grass 3 times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it didn't play out, so not too bad.
I don't know. I think leading with Appleton and Suicune could have been very interesting, though. Like, you just double set up and just let them set their Trick Room up. I think that could have been really
Yeah.
interesting.
They were just too scared of Magirna maxing turn 1, right? They had to counter it with Solgaleo, but then at that point, when you see not Magirna, you should probably consider a switch.
True.
Yeah.
Like Bronzong is so obvious going for Trick Room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. GG's to both teams. And actually that makes them both 1 and 3. I think there's still a fighting chance because the 4th and 5th place are going to be super close. Now that we are halfway through, we can see the numbers on the leaderboard. Okay, next up would be Game 2. Omaha Omanytes versus Martin Solrock. And Lemmy is the one who streamed this. And this is... I thought that was... Like we saw something really cool in this match. Let me go through the play-by-play. So, anyway, that was 12 minutes in the first game. So, yeah, not too bad. Okay, so that was Fletchinder and Landorus from the Omanytes. And that's Fletchinder's debut. And then Hitmonlee and Grimmsnarl, very interesting lead. You know, you rarely see this. Then the Lando, you know, they wanted to... Omanytes wanted to maybe recycle the Intimidate, so he hard switch into Serena. Notably, both are weak to Ice. And then the Fletchinder went for Peck onto the Serena to proc a weakness policy. That's a surprise factor that Omanytes have. And then Grimmsnarl actually Dynamax. Of course Grimmsnarl is in the player 1 slot. The Hitmonlee bullet punches into a weakness policy Grimmsnarl, and Grimmsnarl has the ability Pickpocket to pick up Hitmonlee's Life Orb. That does 2 things. That gives Grimmsnarl the immediate boost and also the Life Orb boost, and it gives Hitmonlee the Unburden. Very cool combination there. And then Grimmsnarl uses Max Hailstorm to KO the Serena upon switching, and the Hail breaks the Gale Wing. So a lot of things happen in turn 1. So you know, Fletchinder might be actually slower than Grimmsnarl, but it wasn't so. Then the Lando had to switch back in for the Serena, bringing the Grimmsnarl back to neutral. And then Hitmonlee was faster now, so it could coaching. And then Grimmsnarl is at net +1 attack. The Lando goes for EQ. Lando is faster than Grimmsnarl. It crits and KOs the Hitmonlee. That was lucky. And then Fletchinder actually outsped Grimmsnarl and managed to get off that tailwind, which is quite important. Then the Grimmsnarl went for Max Darkness into the Fletchinder, maybe calling the Landorus to protect. So he didn't go for Hailstorm into Landorus. Then the Lucario had a free switch in for the Fletchinder slot, and then Gastrodon switched in for Hitmonlee. And Lucario Max, and this is the point where I didn't really understand. The Lucario went for Max. The Landorus went for Rock Slide because he couldn't Earthquake its own Lucario. And then the Lucario actually went for Max Knuckle into the Gastrodon, only doing 50%. Like, it could have went for Max Steel Spike because Grimmsnarl had 40% left, although it's at +1 defense. So I'm not... Yeah, I think that was a little mistake there. Then the Grimmsnarl actually revealed Max Quake. So I think maybe the Lucario was comfortable, you know, like Grimmsnarl might not hit Lucario for super effective, but actually Grimmsnarl has Stomping Tantrum. This is something that I knew because I ran offensive Grimmsnarl back in the day. And then it OHKOs the Lucario. Dynamax. It's quite crazy. With +1 and Life Orb. Then the Gastrodon revealed Blizzard to KO the Landorus, taking a double KO. And then Hexerus and Volcarona had to switch in. Then the Hexerus hard switch into Xatu because we know that Volcarona has Giga Drain. Then Hexerus went for Dragon Claw into Xatu, it does 90%, and Volcarona connects Heatwave to kill the Xatu, but it doesn't actually take the KO on Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl was quite bulky, and it had that +1 special defense boost from Max Quake. Then Grimmsnarl cleanly kills Xerneas with Spirit Break, but it dies to Life Orb and Chill, and Hail Chip. So Licky switched in for Grimmsnarl, and I think that's the end, right? Because Xerneas slot is down, and then there's only Volcarona against the world. Volcarona went for Giga Drain to kill the Gastro, so not too bad, getting some differential back, but Licky easily kills Volcarona with Rock Slide for the win. Yeah, quite a quick game, only 5 turns. Very explosive with a turn 1 Dynamax Grimmsnarl. Yeah, Vogue only got 1 KO, yeah, that's okay. The kill details I just copy pasted. Yeah, this lead is so big brain, right? Yeah, very cool. And you know, you always like sometimes you can fall prey and then assume that a Grimmsnarl will usually be a defensive set with support, but then you can always catch your opponents off guard with a Dynamax Grimmsnarl, because Grimmsnarl's attack stat is actually 120. That is very respectable. Notably, one quick note before I pass over to you guys, the league that I'm following, Multi-Battle Conference, in Season 4, they're currently in their Season 5. Season 4, the team that drafted Grimmsnarl won, and every game they led with Grimmsnarl Volcarona or Grimmsnarl Blastoise, and then you don't know which mon is offensive or which mon is support, because Grimmsnarl, Volcarona and Blastoise can have very varying sets, and then they always Dynamax Grimmsnarl to catch people off guard because it's a best of 1 game, right? And then they easily took, they climbed all the way to the top of the leaderboard, and then they actually managed to win the whole thing in Season 4. So I think Grimmsnarl is a mon that cannot be underestimated, and Solrock really showed the power of Grimmsnarl this week. Yeah, that's all I have. Whew.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really good prep on their part. I think that was like fantastic. It caught everyone off guard. I think you're right, the Lucario should have done Steel Spike, but it's Steel Spike from Bullet Punch, right? So that was their only Steel move, was Steel Spike from Bullet Punch. So I can see why they chose not to, and try and give themselves a Knuckle boost instead. But I think having the defense boost on both Lando and Lucario would have been really good, especially against that Grimmsnarl. They might have survived that Quake, right? So
yeah, I think they were just hoping to like not be able to be KO'd on Lucario, right? They didn't see Max Quake coming, so
yeah, I think overall it's just very good prep from Martin Solrock's end, and then I think it also somehow might be unintentional because they realized that the Omanytes have so many ice weaknesses, and then they kind of need ice type coverage, right? That is actually very offensive. I'm not sure if Hitmonlee gets Ice Punch, then Gastrodon is too slow, and then it always fall prey to Volcarona and Serena, so they thought maybe Grimmsnarl could be the best option with Ice Punch, and I think it really put through for them. You can also see that they didn't bring Rillaboom because the Omanytes had so many flying types, so I think it's a good choice to bench the Rillaboom.
Oh, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think the one thing that really happened that really hurt the Omanytes is on the Serena switch, right? After Serena died, they just got very flustered, right? So they had a chance to win this game or like return some momentum, but I feel like they just got very flustered. And if they, kind of just got themselves like back in it, they could have done a lot more.
Yeah, they were very concerned about, right? Because once the Grimmsnarl reveals a Max Hailstorm, that side had like no good switch in left. Serena was dead, and then the best you can do is switch in Volcarona, but then you're still taking a Max Hailstorm at +2. And then one thing I wrote down at the end of the game, Volcarona just about missed a KO on Grimmsnarl with, I think it was Heat Wave.
Yep.
And the game was already close as it was, they had Scarf Haxorus next to Volcarona, but then since the Grimmsnarl stuck around, they got to Spear Break into Haxorus for a KO. And like if the Scarf Haxorus was around still, they probably would have been able to maybe take one more KO, like bring differential back. They could have maybe even won that, but Omaha still did well. Like after the really surprising turn 1, they still managed to get a pretty good differential in the end.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
I think
If
that
they had
goes-
Bug Buzz also,
Mhm,
I think
yeah.
they could
I
have.
think that
done
comes
more.
down to. I think that comes down to like Omanytes prep. I think it's still very good.
Yeah. It was still a really
Yeah.
close game, even though they kind of had a pretty bad like turn 1 and 2.
I still think if they had Bug Buzz instead of Heat Wave there, they KO Grimmsnarl, and they have a really good chance with that Scarf Haxorus.
Yeah, true. Then I also want to mention like this like even though Grimmsnarl Dynamax on turn 1 and then took a very quick KO, but this is still a 6v6 battle in a multi battle, right? So you could see that Omanyte still had a lot of tools in the back that can help them. So like despite having a very strong explosive Dynamax turn 1, I think a lot of us can take away from this that you still have a lot of tools in the back to make the playing field even, and you also have your Dynamax to help against the opponent's Dynamax.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. And they got the double Intimidate off, right? So a lot of that weakness policy on Grimmsnarl, like a lot of that wasn't very, like it wasn't used because they got the 2 Intimidate cycles from Lando.
Mm-hmm.
So
True, yeah.
Yeah. Then quick shout outs to all these nicknames. Not sure where they get these nicknames from. Maybe they just nickname the mons when they catch them. But thanks for putting them in, guys. So, Martin Solrock will be our first team that we are covering that went 4-0. So very clean wins so far. I think they were the first seed to draft, right? So I think this team like it kind of seems not very coherent, but then I think they managed to always prep well for every week, and then their team with the inherent bulk was able to pull through for them. Like Grimmsnarl, not only is it a good attacker, it's actually a very defensive mon with very good typing, so I think that worked super well. Okay.
Yeah, they have a solid team overall.
Let's move on to game 3. And we have our second 4-0. Who's that? Who is Las Vegas Primarinas?
Oh.
Okay, Joe, why don't you cover the play-by-play of your match?
Okay, so we led with Dragapult and Zeraora, and they led with Trevenant Persian. Turn 1, we realized we couldn't really stop them from Trick Rooming, so we just decided to fake out the Persian, and our Dragapult switched out into Registeel while Trevenant set up Trick Room. Turn 2, their Persian hard switches into Regirock so that they could get a Bulldoze weakness policy, proc off with the Trevenant. And then our Registeel body presses that switch in, and so does Zeraora with an Aura Sphere, and their Regirock ended up being very low on health after that turn. The turn 3, our Registeel maxes and Zeraora protects from a Trevenant Hornleech, and then their Regirock was still +2, so their Drain Punch does around 40% to the max Registeel, but our Steel Spike is able to KO it in return.
Wait, how Max Registeel? What? Huh? Hello?
What's that?
Okay.
Turn 4, they brought in Persian, and Trevenant Hornleeches the Zeraora again. Registeel Steel Spikes the Persian, and Persian Parting Shots our Zeraora, so Ninetales comes in and it takes an Aura Sphere. Turn 5, we hard switch Zeraora into Audino, and then their Ninetales protected, and it still takes about 70% from the Registeel Steel Spike, and then Trevenant reverses Trick Room, but it was still the last turn anyway, so it's about to end. Turn 6, they switch in Sceptile for Trevenant, and Ninetales Ice Shards it to activate their Snowball. Registeel KOs Ninetales with Body Press, and then our Audino Trick Rooms. Turn 7, their Persian comes in. They fake out Registeel, but our Audino has Heal Pulse, so Registeel comes back to almost full health. Their Sceptile maxes, but Max Quake doesn't do much to Registeel because of the 3 Steel Spikes. And then after that, Audino can Baby Doll Eyes the Sceptile, and Registeel KOs the Persian with the Body Press, so that Sceptile slot is by itself. And they started targeting the Audino because they realized we could keep healing, but they don't do too much damage because we still got a +1 defense onto there. And then Sceptile is KO'd by the Registeel Body Press, actually, even after maxing. And then from there, all they had was Trevenant and Buzzwole, so they tried to stall out, and they did a pretty good job. to try to preserve their mons at the end, but they expected their Buzzwole to be able to take a Volcanion Flamethrower on the switch, and they weren't able to. So the Buzzwole went down, and they were just left with Trevenant in the end, and the game just went to timer.
Yeah, when they realized that Registeel could Dynamax and then do that 3 Steel Spike plus body press strategy, then they realized, let's try and take the full 60 seconds for each turn and try and reduce the differential, and then it was too much damage, you know, from body press that they could only reduce the differential to 5-0. Yeah, instead of making it a clean 6-0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it makes sense
they
though on
tanked
their
a lot
end.
of points though on the leaderboard, you could see.
Right.
Yeah. Then I think one quick thing to note is that you guys timed out, right? You guys meant to bring in Togetic. Oh shoot. Wait, what's that? What's not Decidueye? What's the not Decidueye slot?
It was supposed to be Togetic.
Yeah, it's
Wait,
Togetic.
Decidueye?
Decidueye was in. You put on the other side is Terrakion.
Oh, we brought
Terrakion.
Terrakion, and then Swampert.
Terrakion.
Yeah, Swampert was benched.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I thought that Xerneas seemed to be like quite pressured to always try to go slow because their fastest mon, like KS said, is Persian, and then Dragapult and Zeraora easily outspeeds Persian, so it makes sense to want to try and set up Trick Room, but then it just wasn't enough for them because Registeel could easily come in. I think that switch into Registeel was a blessing in disguise, and you guys actually planned to have that option to max Registeel, and then it paid off, and like the rest of the mons are even faster than Registeel in Trick Room, right? Like Sceptile, Buzzwole, even Persian Ninetales. So I think Xerneas was really in the back foot from turn 2.
Yeah, it was just, we felt good about either getting rid of Persian or like if they hard switch into, it was either going to be Regirock, Garchomp, or Ninetales. Like all of those, taking those down a lot of health would have been really good on our end because Garchomp obviously threatens like a lot of our team, and then the Regirock was obviously what they were playing at max because of the policy, but then they just risked too much on the switch end, I guess.
Yeah. Wow, God says team too strong. Las Vegas Primarinas, someone needs to nerf them.
Thank you.
So a couple of things, right? So the reason why we set up to max Registeel, is because I was really afraid of the Scarf Eruptions from Entei.
Correct.
So I really wanted to have the Assault Vest on it.
Mhm.
So AV Registeel actually can like body Entei pretty well. So with AV, I also thought they would try and taunt us because Registeel needs time to set up, right, with all those iron defenses and amnesias and everything. So I thought they were going to bring Weezing, and I thought they were going to taunt us. So that's why I said we should try AV Registeel and be able to max it. So that's what we ended up doing, and it worked. And then we also had Audino as
Like a
healer this
healer.
week.
Yeah.
So if they did try to burn us, there's a good chance that burn will go away as long as we get rid of Weezing. So we were really, really afraid of Weezing, and Weezing didn't come. So we're very glad about that, I guess.
Yeah,
We
I
were
think
also
somehow
lucky in some ways
Mhm.
that they didn't bring Garchomp or Entei, which was very threatening. Like in practice, Garchomp Entei was like doing really well, and then no Will-O-Wisp on the Trevenant as well. So they didn't have any room to burn our Registeel, which was the only physical attacker this week.
Yeah, you stole what I wanted to say. I thought like Garchomp, Entei, and Weezing, all 3 of them are good into Registeel, so it didn't happen, and then the max Registeel could just pop off.
Yeah. We still had if Registeel doesn't work out right, we don't have to max it, and then we still have Volcanion and Dragapult as max options anyway.
Yeah, that was the other one, right? So Volcanion and Dragapult really work as max options as well. And then Zeraora, we didn't have a really good way to break the fur coat on Persian, right? So even if we started with Play Rough instead of Aura Sphere, but it just didn't do enough to Persian because Fur Coat just makes it very, very tanky physically. So that's why we ended up switching Dragapult to special, and we gave Aura Sphere to
Sarah.
Zeraora, because that was the biggest threat we had to Dragapult. So if we could get rid of Persian, then Dragapult can do a lot of work that it couldn't do before.
Yeah.
So
Yep, nice. Overall, like very clean game with very solid prep, and we've been seeing as of now, like in these 3 games, pretty unexpected Dynamax options, and I think that shows the versatility of Dynamax. Like Seismitoad, I think not too bad. Then Grimmsnarl Dynamax, and then this time Registeel Dynamax. I think having to be flexible and versatile, I think it will help, and it will certainly pay off for your teams.
Yeah, there's a weirder one coming up soon, so.
Yeah, okay. So, quick shoutouts for the nicknames. Xerneas, like, nickname is because Primarinas are from Las Vegas, so all these are casino games, right? And then for Primarinas side, because Mamma Mia is a musical, so all their mons are nicknamed after musical. I like Phantom. Super good nickname for Dragapult. Phantom. Nice.
I couldn't fit Phantom. I tried even Phantom Opera or Opera Phantom, and it didn't even fit, so I had to just go Phantom.
Nice.
no, Phantom works.
Yeah,
Okay.
good idea.
Yeah, alright, good job. And then both teams were 3-0, and then now someone has to suffer a loss, and that was Xerneas. So I think with the trades, maybe Xerneas can fight back, try and climb the leaderboard in the next few matches.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're still
let's
doing
go.
really great though.
So let's go to game 4. This is Malcolm versus PokePals. I think it was a strange match, but then I thought the Heliolisk and Torkoal lead was very smart because Malcolm, you never know whether they want to set up Trick Room or not, but then the Torkoal really discourages them from setting up Trick Room. So I have the play-by-play. It's a Executor Clefable lead versus a Heliolisk Torkoal lead. Well, I think Heliolisk is quite a cool lead. And then Heliolisk reveals Hyper Voice on turn 1, doing super good chip damage into both Executor and Clefable. However, it's not a 2-hit KO onto Clefable. Then Executor eats a Citrus Berry, and actually it heals up to like 55% or 51%. So it doesn't eat the Citrus Berry after it gets the Harvest, which is a bit strange and a bit unlucky for the Executor. Then what happened was Clefable revealed Fake Tears, something you don't exactly see on Clefable, and Executor went for Draco Meteor into Torkoal, removing the slowest mon on the field, gets the clean KO. Then the Heliolisk takes a bit of slower power chip. Then in turn 2, Latios got the free switch from in the Torkoal slot, and then Clefable went for Follow Me. This turn Latios couldn't max yet, so Latios only could go for Air Slash, but it gets redirected, hits into the Clefable. Heliolisk goes for Hyper Voice and KOs the Executor, but it barely KOs the Clefable, which survives at 5%. That was quite clutch. Then Heliolisk takes more solar power chip. Urshifu switches in for Executor. The fast mon comes in, and then Latios, recognizing the threat of Wicked Blow, hard switches into Cobalion. Clefable goes for the safe Follow Me again to protect Urshifu, maybe from a powerful move from Heliolisk. Then Heliolisk continues to Hyper Voice, it's the fastest on the field. It KOs the Clefairy and does 65% into Urshifu. But Urshifu went for Wicked Blow to KO Heliolisk. So this is a game of really trading chess pieces. You can see each mon just taking KOs and then get hit, taking KOs and then get hit. Then Darmanitan switches in for Heliolisk on this turn. Arcanine switches in for Clefable because Clefable went down, right? Then Intimidate went off, so Darmanitan and Cobalion are both intimidated. Cobalion hard switches back into Latios, and then the Darmanitan goes for Scarf Break to KO the Urshifu. Then Arcanine goes for Will-O-Wisp into Latios switch in, so good switch in from PokePal's end. Arctovis switches in for Urshifu, that's the last slot already. But this turn Latios can max, so Darm went for the Brick because it's locked into Brick Scarf, into Arctovish, taking it just, and then Latios goes for max Airstream. I think he could have went for something different like max Wormwind, but the double up couldn't kill Arctovish, so Arctovish survives. Then Arcanine went for the Will-O-Wisp into Darm, so not too bad. But then I feel like at this point, Pokepels had so much speed control over the opponent, and then the Arctovish slot is about to go down, so it will force a 2v1. So next turn, very easy, Darm. Oh wait, hang on. Then Arctovish retaliates with Icicle Crash, and impressively it does 70% to a Dynamax Latios, because Latios' defense stat is very low. Then next turn is the Arctovish turn to max. But it cannot max, right? Because it's at like 10% health. So the Darmanitan break to kill the Arctovish, and then Latios Wormwind into Arcanine to kill Arcanine. A lot of speed control there. Then the Arctovish slot is dead, and then what Arcanine slot is what remains at the Arcanine slot is Stunfisk. Then on this turn, Stunfisk can max, so it maxes. Then I don't know why, but Darm, Pokepels decided to hard switch Darm into Whimsicott, and then just so happens Stunfisk survived the max Wormwind from Latios, cause it's Dynamax, right? And then Stunfisk went for max Ooze into the Darmanitan slot, and it KOs the Whimsicott that doesn't have a sash. So one free KO from Malcolm's end. And then Darm switches back in, and then they just have to spam attacks. Max Wormwind, Ice Punch, then after that, after Latios ended the max, I think he didn't want to go for Draco, so he kept going for Mystical Fire, maybe predicting that the Stunfisk is the special attacker with that max Ooze. Then finally, there was a lucky Ice Punch freeze from the Darmanitan, but finally the last Ice Punch kills the Stunfisk. So yeah, like Joe said, that's an interesting Dynamax on the Stunfisk, but then I feel like overall Malcolm couldn't get into a good position to Dynamax, and somehow the Pokepels were able to target very well to force the opponent not to Dynamax. So there were some points where maybe Arcanine could Dynamax, but it wasn't in a good position to do so. And then same goes for maybe Arctovish and arguably Urshifu. Yeah. So they Pokepels just hit fast, hit hard, and were able to chip the opponents very quickly.
Yeah, they had similar problems before, right? Like that one game where they didn't max at all. They just have a hard time like getting a good max option in.
You're talking about Malcolm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pokepels play this one very well. Like every time they could see a dangerous attack coming, they would just switch, like do a good switch, and then they positioned to where they could max Latios safely.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had like Heliolisk and Darmanitan, which were like fast enough to break through this team. And then God says in chat that they wanted to get up speed for Scarf Genesect.
Oh yeah.
So Genesect didn't even come out at all.
It was Stunfisk in the end.
Yes.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I actually think they could. I mean, based on what they led, right? They could have maxed Executor.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like they should have had their player 1 and player 2 slots opposite. Because why would you lead Clefable as the max option, right? So
Yeah.
I understand that they wanted to go for Trick Room maybe from Alolan Executor, but that team has Torkoal, that team has Golurk, that team has Centiskorch, that team has Jellicent. I don't know if, and what you had in the back was like Urshifu and Arcanine, and I guess Stunfisk is slow, Arctovish is slow, but if you can still switch those two slots and potentially do the same, right? And you now have the potential to max Executor as well. So if they had turn 1 max Executor, they don't have to waste a Fake Tears on that slot. On the yeah. So they could have actually just done an attack right from Clefable. They could have easily just Moonblasted Heliolisk. It's going to take that damage as well, and they probably still KO Torkoal with the Wormwind, and they don't have to risk going to -2 on Executor there. So that could have started them off like pretty well, and then Latios comes in and it's already in a bad place because both Clefable and Executor are gonna do a lot of damage to it. So you could even like max guard Executor there and Moonblast with Clefable, since you know that.
Last
So
year
you
was
have a lot of
fast, yeah,
options,
correct.
but they
Yeah,
didn't do
I
that.
think the idea, right, is they just wanted to snipe Torkoal and then set up Trick Room.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
what
I
it seems
understand that that's what the idea was, but you can still do that
Yeah,
with it on the other side, right? You don't have to have
yeah,
Clefable
exactly.
be the player one slot, right? You can give yourself the option to potentially max, depending on the lead in that particular case. And Helios is very scary because those hyper voices. I'm not even sure if it was what the item was, but
Yeah,
those hyper
the
voices.
item on Heliolisk was actually Focus Sash. I saw it in team preview, so I wanted to remind Guard that Heliolisk kept taking solar power chip damage, breaking its own sash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like in one of my draft leagues that I lost in the final to Heliolisk, that
Oh.
was choice specs, right?
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, because that does a lot of damage, and if you're going to take that solar power damage anyway, you might as well just do as much damage as you possibly can.
Yep, but overall, I think a very like sort of back and forth, but then still well managed game from the Pokepals end, and I really think that the switches they made were very strategic and very well done. So they were able to get the win 2-0 over Malcolm.
Yeah, they definitely positioned really well. They had a
Oh,
specific plan for Clef Urshifu. Okay.
Yeah, I think Clef Urshifu is a good lead too. Good idea for the Malcolm.
But then they still have Heliolisk in, right? Like, I think they just maybe underestimated the Heliolisk damage. Like, in Solar Power, it's just gonna do a bunch with Hyper Voice, stop Hyper Voice, or it's gonna attack into Urshifu, which has low special defense. So,
Yeah.
it was a good lead for Pokeball's end. Very
Somehow, right, I think the focus sash on the Heliolisk was not bad because, right, you denied the executor from getting a Harvest Citrus Berry back, and then it was stuck at 55% health. So the second Hyper Voice could kill the executor easily. So
Yeah.
because if you guys gave it like Life Orb or just like Expert Belt, then that plan couldn't work. The executor would survive turn 2.
Right, but wouldn't it have mattered if Executor maxed though?
Yeah,
In
makes
that
sense.
situation.
That's a good suggestion. And
Problem with Executor Max is they have Darm, though, the whole time. They didn't set up Trick Room or anything.
Yeah, but they have Darn, but you have Clef, right? So like that's the thing. So if you're gonna protect, Executor, Clef is a good mon to protect Executor with.
true.
And it does also get Flamethrower, right? So if they're setting up the Sun, you can use that to your advantage as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it. Then Pokepals are now 2 and 2, and then Malcolm is 1 and 3. So Malcolm still has a lot of space to try and improve. I think maybe try and take some advice to have a better like start game plan. I think not getting caught off guard with that Toko lead. I think that cost them a little bit. They couldn't switch well, and then still maybe even try like turn 1 Dynamax, right? Even with Clefable's support, then that Dynamax spawn will do a lot of damage. Like if you can call that they are not gonna just target your Executor, let's say with a Max Worm Win, because it's risky to Max Worm Win with a Clefable on the field, then use Clefable to even go for Helping Hand, so Executor can do more damage.
And I think Genesect was good too that they didn't bring.
That was a bit wasted opportunity. I think they were too scared of.
They could have brought a Scarf Genesect very
yeah.
easily at the end, like to come back to combat that Darm. I think that would have been so good for them.
Hindsight is like 2020, right? Because maybe they were too scared of the Toko, but then they even had the plan to kill Toko on turn 1. So unfortunately, the Genesect couldn't. They didn't pick the Genesect. Not sure if it's a timeout or not. Then this match somehow featured Kick Your Butt, the Stunfisk with a Dynamax. Very interesting nicknames. Then Pokepal's nicknames are from Malcolm in the Middle. I didn't watch the show, sorry guys. But then I copy and pasted the nicknames into search, and then I found that they are from Malcolm in the Middle. Very cool nickname choice. Alright. Any other points?
I don't think so.
Nice. So that's actually all for the Rose group. So congratulations to Tyrunts, Solrocks, Primarinas, and Pokepals for the wins this week. And I think this week the games played were very clean and also very well played and managed on everyone's end. So good job to all of you. Okay, next up we have our first match from Peony group, Galarian Rapidazz versus Torterra. Right?
Yeah.
Is Setsuko still here? So
Maybe that's
okay, hit us with the play-by-play, Joe.
yeah. So Galarian Rapidazz led Kingdra Politoed versus a Gothitelle and a Drampa. So turn 1, the Kingdra maxes and the Drampa protects. So the Kingdra max geysered and the Politoed Scald doubled up into Gothitelle, but because of Cloud 9 they weren't able to KO it and Gothitelle set up Trick Room. The turn 2, Drampa maxes and Gothitelle Helping Hand Wormwinds a Kingdra for a KO, and then Gothitelle goes down to Scald from Politoed. Turn 3, they're able to bring in their Zacian, and Primarina comes in for the other side. Zacian protects, Politoed switches out into Gothorita. Zacian takes a max flare through protect, and Gothorita takes an energy ball. Turn 4, Pheromosa switches in for Zacian, takes a max flare from Drampa down to the Sash, and then Primarina Hydro Cannons the Gothorita, and Gothorita survives and reverses Trick Room. Turn 5, Helping Hand Poison Jab from the Pheromosa into Primarina is enough to KO it, and the Drampa protected, so they wasted their turn. Turn 6, Cinderace comes in. Helping Hand Feint from Pheromosa does a lot in Cinderace, but the Pheromosa still goes down to Pyro Ball, and then Gothorita is KO'd by Fire Blast from Drampa. Turn 7, Zacian and Politoed come in. Zacian protects from a Pyro Ball from Cinderace, and Politoed KOs the Cinderace with Scald, and then Drampa also doubled up into the Zacian Protect with a Fire Blast. Turn 8, that means only one slot for Torterra wide is left. So Helping Hand Close Combat is able to KO the Drampa, and the game goes on for a little bit longer. They end up subbing with Zacian in front of like Luxio, and then eventually they get to the point where they KO Luxio after a couple switches, and then Politoed is able to Parasong the lone Celesteela, and then Politoed hard switches into Moltres, and before Parasong even goes off, they end up KOing Celesteela with Flamethrower anyway, and that's the end of the game.
Yeah, I felt like wow, it's quite a back and forth, because you use both the Gothitelle and Gothorita to gain that speed control. You either set up the Trick Room or reverse the Trick Room. But I think there were a few missed opportunities on Torterra's end when, sometimes that they have to make that hard read when they are in control and under Trick Room, and then maybe hard read a protect from Zacian, right? And then maybe always target that player 2 slot, the Politoed, Moltres and Gothorita, so that once that slot goes down, then they can try and force a 2v1 situation against the Zacian and maybe get more damage off and even break subs and try to chip Zacian as much as possible, right?
Yeah. I think even though they lost, they really played well in this one, but then their Cinderace slot just ended up being able to be picked off, and then like on the turn after Zacian protects, right, they max flared it, but they didn't double up into the slot that just protected, so they wasted their Hydro Cannon. Primarina had to recharge anyways. That was a free KO.
Then the one thing that Torterra said was that I think that Helping Hand Feint from Pheromosa, Rapidazz prepped Feint, I think good prep to easily just stop protect, and then they didn't expect Cinderace to take that extra chip damage because Pheromosa is at +1 attack with Feint with Helping Hand, so the Cinderace took too much chip and then wasn't able to survive because they prepped to survive a Scald from Politoed.
At that point, I was just thinking they would Sucker Punch the Pheromosa, right? Because it's at 1 HP, so either like if they were trying to get around Sucker Punch the normal way, right, they would either switch out into Zacian or they just let their Pheromosa go down, but then the Helping Hand Feint, they just get extra damage off.
Yeah,
they didn't go for Sucker Punch anyway.
Right? Yeah, Sucker
yeah,
Punch
exactly. So Feint was really clever on their end, but then they didn't even Sucker Punch in the first place. So
yeah. So a couple of things is they wasted 2 protects on Drampa.
Yeah.
So those are 2 moves that they could have gotten off that I think that they knew that, like, based on the lead, like, they're gonna double into Gothitelle, right?
Mhm.
I know that you're kind of scared of Kindra, but then you have Celesteela in the back, which is fine too. You know,
I'm not sure. I think the first protect was pretty reasonable
Correct.
though.
I think so too.
yeah, but I feel like you don't have to do it. I feel like Drampa can survive there, right? Kingdra,
Against Kindra?
I feel, yeah,
I'm not sure.
depending on how you EV it, it should be able to survive.
Yeah, I guess you're
But
right.
either
But
way,
if they wanted to max Drampa right, then they should just protect it. It's pretty okay on their end.
yeah, but you're still going to take a bunch of damage that you don't need to take, right? You
Yeah.
know you're going to KO Kingdra later, right? So they wasted 2 protects that if they got attacks off, they could have changed the game. So
yeah, I think those were quite like I'm not sure if team has like the courage to make those very like big plays, because it feels
Yeah.
like their whole game plan revolves around Drampa, so like they were really pressured to ensure that Drampa stays alive as much as possible, unfortunately.
I think
yeah,
they
I
still
mean,
had a lot of opportunities without making hard reads though. Like even though they protected that one, it's still fine because Drampa's at full HP and then Gothitelle lives. So like after that, they just didn't like they did well for the initially with the Drampa, but then they started like doubling up into the Zacian protects, which were
Yeah.
kind of obvious under Trick Room, and then that was just
yeah,
kind of
I mean,
wasted.
you also have to know that Gothorita can,
Reverse, yeah.
Trick Room, and that changes your entire like game plan, right? So
Yeah.
you got to double into Gothorita as much as possible, do as much damage to it as you possibly can. So
I do get they really wanted to get rid of Zacian though, because after Trick Room, if there's no Zacian, they can do pretty well with Cinderace.
True. Yeah, but overall I still think good prep on Torterra's side. Yeah, it just once again couldn't seal the win. Yeah, I think in the late game there's still even a chance, right? If Celesteela has something like Leech Seed and Flamethrower for the Zacian, then they could they were stuck in with Celesteela, and then the Celesteela could switch into Luxio to force the Zacian to switch out, right? Because you can intimidate the Zacian at least once. Then not before Zacian gets the substitute, but still, I think like the end game, the player 2 slot could still try to clutch it out, but it didn't play out. They just fell prey, and then Zacian went for the helping hand. I think it KO'd Drampa. Yeah, helping hand close combat just easily KO'd Drampa. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cinderace is Scarf, he says. That's really smart prep actually. But then Rapidazz did really well to protect their Zacian and then KO the Cinderace.
Yeah. So, wow, here we see Rapidazz advancing to 4-0, and then Torterra, yet again coming in, like falling short, and then, man, not sure. Yeah, maybe they're just in it for fun right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems very to be a tough position to be in. And lastly, shoutouts to Rapidazz. Not sure if you guys are actually Shakespeare fans, but wow, I'm supposed to. I think I studied Hamlet. Wait, is this Hamlet? Yeah, Hamlet, right? And I forgot everything.
yes,
I forgot everything. So I have no idea what these names mean actually. Then like I saw the Pokepaste, so I added Ditto to be the ghost, and then Landorus is. I still don't know who Claudius is. Okay, so
I don't know either.
yeah, that's all for game 5. Yeah, I think like it's like 3-0 is still like quite telling that Torterra still had some tools to fight back, and then they had a good game plan with Trick Room. So I think like at least it wasn't like a sweep. So I think Torterra really fought hard for this, and I really need to give props and credits to them for trying hard. Like trying their
they're
best.
probably good this time. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, trying their best. Man, Setsuko, you're always going on about saying goodbye to your sweet prince. Why don't you just keep the station? Yeah, but oh well. So this is Zacian and Politoad's possibly last match, especially when I think that not a lot of other teams drafted U tier, so I don't think anyone will actually pick up Zacian. So maybe this is goodbye to Zacian for the rest of the league. Yeah, rip.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Zishan.
See ya.
Farewell. Okay, next up we have my match. This is quite a big regret on my end.
Why?
Once again, the plot armor on my end came in very clutch, because I really think that I didn't deserve to win it. But then when I was streaming and when I was in the match with my teammate chasing, we were really into it. And then I think I kind of regret we popped off at the wrong moments, because like that 95% night days from Zoroark, it missed. And then it's just a 5% chance to miss, 1 in 20 chance, and we got it. And we got so much momentum off of that. And yeah, I think it's a win that I feel like I don't deserve. Yeah. Although in the moment it felt like I was really into it and celebrating the win. So I did reflect upon it, and there are a lot of things that I could do better. Wait, do you help me do the play-by-play? I thought I could do it by memory. Okay, I'll refer to this. Okay, so
did I write it?
Yeah, you did. So it was a Skarmory and Cradily lead versus Tangrowth and Omanytes. You will see Tangrowth and Omanytes, and then you won't know that it might be a Zoroark. So spoilers, right? It is a Zoroark. So let's say it's a Zoroark, right? Turn 1, Tangrowth goes for Rage Powder, and Zoroark went for Nasty Plot, which Omanytes actually gets access to. But the thing is, the Nasty Plot went before our Skarmory that went for Stealth Rocks. And then we know that Cradily is always the slowest, and Cradily goes for Curse. The reason why we went for Stealth Rock and Curse is because Tangrowth Omanytes seems to be a very passive lead, right? So they did catch us off guard, because the Omanytes was actually a Zoroark, and then we, on our end, we went to play passive, and then we did Stealth Rock and Curse. Then at that point, we should have realized that Zoroark, the Omanytes can never outspeed a Skarmory, and we could have went for the Body Press into the Zoroark to do cheap damage, but we didn't do it. The Tangrowth went for Protect, the Zoroark went for Night Daze, 95% misses into the Cradily. It's a roll to get that KO, even if Cradily is max HP. Then our Skarmory, we were dummies, and then we Body Press into the Tangrowth's Protect. And not just that, we actually went for the Curse on Cradily again. That's so careless. Then turn 3, the Tangrowth had to Rage Powder, because if our Cradily doesn't kill the Zoroark, then the Body Press follow-up might not be able to kill the Zoroark. But unfortunately, both Zoroark and Cradily we both max. Then the Zoroark's Max Darkness doesn't KO the Cradily because of Dynamax, the extra bulk. But Cradily easily KOs with a +2 Max Rock 4. Yeah, then finally the Tangrowth gets hit by the Body Press from Skarmory. Then the real Omanytes came out, and then Skarmory is not threatened, so Skarmory went for the Iron Defense, while Tangrowth tries to take out the Cradily with Leaf Storm, because Cradily is at -1 special defense from the Max Darkness, but Cradily did get the Sandstorm up, so Tangrowth's Leaf Storm wasn't enough. Then Omanytes barely survives from Max Overgrowth and sets up Trick Room. So in the next turn, our Cradily is still alive, and our Cradily is the slowest because we got 2 curses off, and then we Max Rock 4 into the Tangrowth for a clean KO. And then the Omanytes went for Drain Punch, still doesn't KO the Cradily. So sad. So Yampers tried their best to really fight back. Then our Skarmory KOs the Omanytes with Body Press, because Omanytes was at 5%. Then the next turn was quite important. Glastrier and Marowak got the free switch, and they were both in the field, so they could easily threaten the Cradily. And then Glastrier smartly went for Protect. Our Cradily we went for Protect because we want to try and maybe bait out a Protect or get into a right time to maybe KO the Glastrier in return, because Glastrier is the bigger threat. Then the Marowak attacks into Cradily's Protect, our Skarmory attacks into Glastrier's Protect. Then we decide to take out the Marowak slot, because we are still under Trick Room and Trick Room is running out. So our Cradily Power Whips to KO the Glastrier, so that slot is gone. Cradily Power Whips to KO the Marowak, so the Marowak slot is gone. And then it's Glastrier against the world. Glastrier KOs Cradily, but not before getting KO'd by Skarmory, right, with Body Press. Then Bolton is the last mon. Our Victini came in. The Heat Wave actually from Victini doesn't kill the Bolton. That was quite surprising. I didn't know Bolton was so bulky. Then the Bolton crunched into Victini and Victini survived. Then finally our Skarmory just took the kill with body press. So it seems like a very one-sided game with 5-0, but I really think we didn't really deserve this win. And then this 5-0 could easily be something else if the Night Day is connected.
Yeah. I think, yeah, your turn 1 and turn 2, right? It was smart to do the curse on Cradilly, but then once they nasty plotted and you didn't realize it was Zoroark still, it was very risky, and then you targeted the wrong slot with body press. So if like that Night Days KOs Cradilly, and then the game becomes very different. But I don't think it's not like you didn't deserve to win, right? Because you still have a lot of stuff in the back. Like you could max Victini.
They still had their max. Yeah, the problem is they still had their max, and then Max Darkness still does super effective into Victini, and then Milotic might not be as bulky, right? Then we cannot like revenge KO the Dynamax Zoroark. So yeah, quite sad. Then the only thing we can try and fight back with would be Dracovish and Sandaconda, but we needed Skarmory to go down.
Right. Also, they didn't have to max Zoroark sorry, if that Night Day is connected, right? So if like Cradilly is basically going to be down to nothing or dead, then they don't have to max Zoroark. They can actually, they have Marowak later, they have Glastrier later. They can set up Trick Room and not be afraid of Cradilly because they got the 2 curses off, and then Trick Room actually looks really good after that, right, for them, as opposed to what happened now, where Trick Room doesn't look as good because Cradilly was breaking everything in Trick Room after the 2 curses. So if it dies, a lot changes, right? So I'm not going to talk about Evan's plot armor that much, but you know, he gets that 5%. I mean, I'm not saying they would have lost, because I think that team still has a lot of, you know, options, but
it's too early to say what could have like been an insta win or instant loss, right? But then like Yampers still had a really good plan, and then like you said, if Cradilly's gone or if Cradilly's really chipped down, then the Trick Room plan becomes really good for them. And I think the team was kind of geared towards Glastrier max is what it appeared like, but then they kind of reactively like max Zoroark just to put the damage onto Cradilly.
And they had to. Like, I think that was like the right move, right? I don't think they were going to be able to do anything if they didn't, right? And I think they were also afraid of another Night Day Smith, so I get it.
That's true. Yeah, and then Spectre Titan actually did a calc from the Yampers. They did a calc and +1 max attack Cradilly. Rock Fall doesn't kill a max Zoroark. So we needed that body press chip into Zoroark if things played differently, if we actually realized that the Omanytes was a Zoroark as quickly as turn 2. Yeah. Then
the turn where they protected Tangrowth, right? If you body press into Zoroark that's not max, I think.
Yeah, I could have. I think I might have killed it. Yeah.
For sure, but I'm just saying they could have. But you know, they KO you first, and then you KO Zoroark. That actually really helps them because they get a free switch in after that to Omanytes for Trick Room, and then they can get Glastrier going. So I don't think that really hurts them if Zoroark dies to the body press right there. So. You know,
true.
Maybe,
the game could have changed.
Yeah, but overall, I think really huge shout outs to a very good game plan of, leading passive and then letting your opponent think that you're going to set up Trick Room, but in actual fact, it was actually Zoroark who is super fast. And actually, like you cannot underestimate Zoroark's damage output. Is actually very, very offensive. And then Dark type moves are very good in general because they hit a lot of mons for neutral. If not super effective damage. Yeah, I think the idea of Max Darkness followed by a move from Tangrowth. I think the Tangrowth didn't even need Leaf Storm. Maybe even like Giga Drain. Wow, that would be a very lethal combination. So the rest of the teams, you guys need to watch out for this strategy. I think it's very, very cool.
Yeah they really like leading Zoroark now since they picked it up in the trade. So you have to be careful about that.
That's true. I also think that that turn 1, and I understand why they did it. Like the turn 1 Rage Powder, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Correct. Just to protect.
Just to protect Zoroark. But if they go like max speed, Tangrowth, I think they have a good chance of outspeeding Skarmory,
Correct.
and they could have actually sleep powdered it right away,
Yeah.
which I thought could have been really, really good, because I don't think Cradily without any boosts is that scary. So they could have still nasty plot and sleep powdered and had a 75% chance to really, really change the game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Man,
But they had a 95% chance to really change the game and
That's
didn't happen,
true.
so
That's
it's
true.
too bad. I feel
we
bad
were
for them.
we were really
And against Evan, 100% accuracy moves are what you have to have, and even then they could miss.
Yeah,
So
they could still miss.
we were really
Oh.
debating between mental herb on the Skarmory or safety goggles. We were this close to putting safety goggles because we know that we want to bypass the tank growth. Not necessarily to body press, but we actually wanted to try stealth rocks and whirlwind. Yeah, but in the end we changed to mental herb because we really respected the Solrock going for taunt. Because if we don't get an iron defense or we don't get the stealth rocks off, then Skarmory doesn't get the damage that he wants to dish out.
yeah, then Skarmory doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, one thing we didn't really talk about it, but that stealth rock on the Skarmory is quite smart because their team is pretty rock weak, and then you can break focus sashes as well.
Yeah.
And then like in doubles, maybe hazards usually isn't very like worth it to set up, right? But in this case, it was actually
right.
gonna
In
do a
this
ton of
case-
damage onto any switch.
It also makes a lot more sense in 6v6, right? Because there's going to be more switches than 4v4.
True.
So
Yeah, watch out for
like
Skarmory,
bonds
guys.
have to come in, and if they don't have a hazard remover, then it is what it is.
Yeah. So once again, I'm sorry to the Yampers. Fight hard. You guys have 4 more weeks. Also, nice nicknames. Someone said it was Norse mythology, right? I think KS said.
Yeah, it is Norse mythology. Yeah.
Super cool. Then our nicknames are a bit cheeky. Because Yellowstone Yampers are dogs. I mean, not the team,
Very cute.
but the Yampers are dogs. Okay.
And based on this week, I think Yampers have a very good chance of still doing something in the league, even though they have a negative record right now. Like their prep was pretty good.
True, exactly. I think they just fell short. One of their losses was a mistake. Dynamaxing a Charizard in front of a Blastoise against the STARBOYS. So I think with better prep and teamwork, I think they are able to fight very hard. You never know. They just win the rest of the games and then easily get into playoffs.
Yeah, but they did have the prep very good this week, so
Nice.
hopefully in the future.
Okay, here we go. 2 more games. Actually, so far I've been checking the time. I've been very aware of the time this week, and we did like about 10 minutes for each game, so it's very good. I think we are moving very quickly. Oh, cool!
Yeah, that's
look,
really cool.
we
This
have
is the match with
Star Wars.
nothing.
Man, this week is full of pop culture references. Okay, let's see.
Oh yeah.
Just Taco just sent me a message. Shoot. Man, that was 2 hours ago. Wait, Just Taco. Is Just Taco in Shellder?
No, he's Malcolm, isn't he?
Oh. Yeah, so I think we still won't be able to get this match. But we have the results, and we actually have the team from Shellder. So Shellder was able to win 3-0. So let me pull up Team OC's team. And then from the kills, maybe we can get a little bit of information. Like Groudon was able to kill Drapion. I think that's obvious with a ground move. And then Doughblade seems to be very clutch. I think it makes sense because Team OC always falls prey to a Mon that can body press, iron defense, a Mon that is steel type and very bulky. So it seems like unfortunately the Excadrill wasn't able to take that KO on Doughblade with Max Quake. I think Excadrill or Drapion would be the best answer into the Doughblade. But Doughblade is a very, very interesting Mon with sky high defense. With the Eviolite, it's practically unkillable. I think it's even more defensive than Registeel with 1 iron defense. Yeah, that's the power of Doughblade. So not too bad.
I think that's so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think that using Doublade at your C tier, picking up that many kills there, using it well is cool. I think it actually could have been a really good matchup for special Tyranitar,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually one of my favorite sets. But this whole team is
Oh.
very, very physical. So
I think that maybe
Yeah.
that might be a missed opportunity. Yeah, I think Special Tyranitar could have like done super well, especially into the Oranguru.
Oh,
Tyranitar gets access to Ice Beam also, so maybe into the Groudon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it could do really well into Oranguru. It could do well against Groudon. It can do well against Articuno. It can do well against Moltres.
Yeah.
It does well
I think
against
it seems
Doublade.
like
It actually can body that entire team right there.
Yeah, I think it seems like maybe Team OC was able to Dynamax the correct mon because they were still able to get 3 KOs. So, it was still not a very one-sided fight. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happened. I think I'll just wait for Team OC to like give me their VOD. Then maybe in next week we can like try and cover this match again. Yeah.
Yeah, it was too bad we didn't get to really see what happened, but thank you to Shellder, I barely know her, for very quickly submitting their post-match thing, their post-match survey.
Yeah.
So we get at least one side's information, and then we get to see this really cool Doublade pick up 3 KOs, and then I wonder if they maxed Turtonator to get the other 2 KOs, or maybe they maxed Groudon or something, but yeah, either way, well done to them, and then Team OC, we don't have any info though, so we're not sure.
Yeah. What else did I want to say? Yeah, we'll just wait for the replay. Oh, actually, I wanted to say that I confess that I didn't watch Star Wars at all.
Oh no.
I have no
Why
idea
did
who
you
these.
say
I have no idea who these people are.
You don't have to tell us that.
But like I have the Disney Plus, so one fine day I'm gonna watch everything. Like all the, at least
it's
all
gonna
the, at
take
least
you
all
a
the
really,
movies.
really long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take
Yeah,
a
that'll
while.
take forever.
There's
So
like
who-
9 official
Who in the world is
movies, right?
Darth Maul? Is that a good or bad guy? It's a bad guy, right?
Bad guy. He has a sword with 2 sides, right? So that's why it's
Wow,
W.
that's so cool. Then the nicknames are
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. He gets a lot more appearance in the Clone Wars if you watch that, which is
Oh,
actually
the spin-off.
much better than all of the other Star Wars
I
stuff, in my
see.
opinion.
Cool.
I like the movies though. I didn't see the Clone Wars, but I like the movies.
Okay.
The movies are good.
Yeah.
Clone Wars is better, I think. Personally,
Yeah.
I know that
Maybe
I'll
I have bad
they'll yell at
movie taste.
So
I don't
No, the
watch
movies aren't bad. The movies are good. I like the movies, but I like
Yeah.
Clone Wars better.
Okay, so in conclusion, very very good job to Shellder, getting yet another win, putting them up 3-1, and
Yeah.
making very good use of Moltres, Groudon. Yeah, and then this week Ileki didn't come, so I think they were trying to go slow, go Trick Room, go bulky in front of a Sand team. I think that paid off well. So good job to Shellder, and then Team OC unfortunately had to fall short. So still a lot of space to fight back, and then with a very strong team with Sand, right, with Excurgio and Calyrex Ice, I think they should be able to
Yeah.
get a few more wins in future weeks. Nice. So last match, STARBOYS versus Team Pocket Rocket. Yeah, okay. I think I'll just read off what you wrote for me.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. STARBOYS, they led with Gudra Cofagrigus. Strange lead, but interesting. Then Team Pocket Rocket, okay, another strange lead, like Tweki and Rotom. I'm not sure what they were thinking, like calling what each other would bring based on team preview. Then in turn 1, I heard from the STARBOYS that they had a Joy-Con, like it ran out of battery or it couldn't click in the move in time. So the Tweki went for knockoff. Knockoff into who? Cofagrigus, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Rotom also went for Max Darkness. The double up was able to KO Cofagrigus, but the Gudra actually went for Power Whip into the Tweki. Although it's in grassy terrain and Gudra can be quite strong, it did a little under 50%. Then Blaziken had to come in for the Cofagrigus slot, so Team Pocket Rocket was able to deny Trick Room, but then Blaziken comes in. Then it protects from a Rotom's Max Geyser, stalling another turn from Rotom. Goodra hard switches into Luxray, and then Tweki U-turns into the Luxray to get out, to get Dragonite in. And then it was like it was in rain, right? And then I think Blaziken didn't expect it, but then the Dragonite went for a very powerful Aqua Jet with towards a 55% Blaziken, and it took the kill, so very impressive. Then Luxray Volt switches into the Dragonite to chip a little bit and brings in Goodra that takes the Max Geyser from Rotom very very well. Then Togekiss comes in for the Blaziken slot. I think that slot is left with just Togekiss, right? Then Dragonite switches into Tweki, hard switch, and then the Rotom T-bolts into Togekiss. Togekiss survives very handily. I think this week Togekiss has to be like max HP, max special defense. I've seen this Togekiss took so many special attack moves from Team Pocket Rocket. Togekiss live deals, and then Goodra couldn't Dynamax yet, so it just went for pure Power Whip in grassy terrain and it easily KOs the Rotom. Then Colossal comes in for the Rotom slot, then the Goodra Max, and then Togekiss went for Helping Hand, Max Quake into the Colossal through Protect. And Colossal didn't die yet. Then Tweki went for Fake Out into Togekiss, so good move using Helping Hand on Togekiss. Then the Tweki U-turns again into the Goodra. I think it just wants to keep doing cheap damage. It brings in the Ninetales. Ninetales takes an Air Slash from Togekiss, and then Goodra easily KOs Colossal with Max Quake. That means the Colossal slot is left with Venusaur. So Venusaur comes in, then Togekiss. Yeah, this turn some people are saying that Togekiss didn't have to go for the Follow Me, but it did go for the Follow Me, and then it takes a Sludge Bomb and even takes a Heat Wave from Ninetales very very comfortably. Then the Goodra KOs Ninetales with Max Win. Then Dragonite comes in. The Togekiss is left with 5%. So Dragonite, Venusaur is faster. Venusaur Sludge Bombs to kill Togekiss because it's in Sun, right? Then Dragonite easily KOs Goodra with Outreach. So like STARBOYS, they had a misplay. So maybe instead of they said they actually intended to max the Goodra, but on hindsight, maybe the late game max Goodra could help because Goodra KO'd so many mons, Colossal, Ninetales, and if Goodra was just that little bit bulkier and it didn't take any chip damage, it might have even KO'd the Dragonite. Yeah, so still a very very close game and well fought between both teams.
Yeah, that misclick actually ended up helping STARBOYS, but then eventually once it got to the point where Goodra was maxed next to Togekiss, they went for Follow Me in front of Venusaur and Ninetales, but then their Goodra had Sap Sipper, so there was not much reason to be scared of Venusaur outside of max and then Ninetales outside of max, so they ended up taking a Heat Wave and a Sludge Bomb anyway. Like, even if they didn't Follow Me, they would have taken those moves into the Togekiss, so that was their chance to go for a Life Dew or a KO onto the Venusaur, and that would have forced a 3v, I think it would be 3v like 4 maybe for the STARBOYS, but then Team Pocket Rocket only has a Thwacky, Ninetales, Dragonite, 1 slot left. Yeah. Because Venusaur and Rotom are all dead, so that would have been a really good position for the STARBOYS, I think.
Yeah,
but they just didn't pick it.
Yeah, even the Togekiss could maybe just protect Goodra from the outreach from Dragonite in the end game, right?
Yeah. And they had +2 Spadef, so the Sludge Bomb Heat Wave double up didn't even KO, and they had a chance to go for a move there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So a couple of things that I saw. One is they didn't have to. They basically didn't have to do an attack with Togekiss. If they just click Life Dew every time, and the Quakes, the other team wasn't doing any damage. So you could have basically had full HP on both Goodra and Togekiss the whole time. If you're just clicking Life Dew, don't click the Air Slash. You don't need Helping Hand to KO a non-max Colossal with the 4-time super effective attack. So I would have said you could predict the protect, but you don't even have to predict the protect. But if you keep clicking Life Dew and nothing else until Dragonite comes out, because you actually did a really good job by breaking that multi-scale, then Togekiss and Goodra can actually really put a lot of pressure on Dragonite, which ended
Yeah,
up being, the thing. And they would have both been at full HP. And Outrage is actually not the greatest attack because you don't know who it goes into. And if you're clicking Outrage while Togekiss is still alive, then you have a chance of it just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Or they just follow me, right?
yeah, or follow me, exactly. So I just was like, if you literally just only click Life Dew, you win.
Oh, I missed
I
out the end game. Oh, there was still a few months. Oh,
Yeah.
Luxray and Blastoise, but then they both died to Venusaur, Dragonite, Thwackey.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if the
Luxray
Venusaur
and
was
Blastoise
gone,
did
right?
nothing.
Then
Yeah.
Thwackey Ninetales Dragonite is not super good into Togekiss in the first place, so.
Oh, that's true.
And then they still have Blastoise, Luxray in the back as well. Like if you just chip down everything, it feels like Blastoise, Luxray, and Goodra can just take everything out, right? Even if
True.
Togekiss goes down at some point.
And you had gotten yourself to +2
If-
Spadef,
defense.
right?
Yeah.
So that's just so good against those mons that were remaining, except for Dragonite, right? But they had Venusaur and Ninetales and +2 special defense, and if you just wait a little longer, keep yourself fully healthy, and then you just spam Air Slash into the Venu slot, then it's 2v1 right there.
Yeah. I wonder
And they
what
targeted Ninetales for some reason with their last
Yeah.
max move
Max Form
when they
Exactly.
should have targeted Venusaur, because Venusaur is the threat to what they had in the back, right? So
Yeah.
what is Ninetales going to do? Ninetales can't touch Goodra at all, like not even a little bit. If you just get rid of Venusaur, then you have a really good matchup in the back.
Yeah.
the Goodra.
But then even if they're gonna go for the follow me play, right? Like they could at least Wormwind into the Venusaur. I assume that KOs. And then if you think it's Sash, you should just go for the double up in the first place.
Man,
Yeah,
the Goodra
like I
had,
said,
the Goodra had Power Whip, Fire Punch into the Venu,
Oh, that yeah, that
missed
definitely
opportunity.
KOs.
yeah, if they already have like Sun Up,
Yeah, exactly.
then just flare instead of use the opponent's weather against them, right?
Yeah, I think that's something
Venusaur can't
that
do anything.
maybe that's something that STARBOYS can learn from. Trying to assess the end game and then see which tools the opponents might have left. I mean, they already reviewed the Dragonite, so they should know that the Dragonite is in the back, and then
And
always take out the Venu first. Yeah.
Yeah, and the prep was so good, right? The prep was so good on their end. If they
Mhm.
just keep clicking Life Dew and keep Togekiss alive, I think they
It's-
could not break through.
Especially because they have
So-
Life Dew Togekiss at +2 Spadef. Like Venusaur's the
Yeah.
only threat there.
It's not
When
even a threat.
Venusaur's gone, yeah. But
Like,
it
did
would
you
be
see
like
how
a-
much
a
damage
crit
that it
sludge
was
bomb,
doing?
right? A crit sludge
yeah,
bomb.
a crit,
That's why you
crit.
KO Venusaur in the first place. And then Thwackey
Exactly.
Ninetales Dragonite is not going to do much into Togekiss, so
Yeah.
Yeah. But then also I just want to give a bit of credits to Team Pocket Rocket because they did they did all the right things. Like as long
Yeah.
as they get the Venusaur to always just click damage, right? Then you just wait for your opponent to do something wrong, deviate from the most optimal play. Then Venusaur was able to take those good KOs. Yeah.
yeah, they
Okay.
pinned very well in the end because the Togekiss went down.
Yeah, they did all the right things, but I feel like just a couple of Life Dews and they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very close in the end, but then
So
they just KO'd the Togekiss and that was it.
KS
Yeah,
what?
I think it was actually.
Wait, I'll
Sorry.
let you finish.
I think the switch in at the end, the Luxray Blastoise switch in was really good, getting that Intimidate off. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
True. Okay.
But yeah, if
I
they
just
just
wanted-
click Life Dew.
I just wanted to ask you, do you recognize the nicknames on STARBOYS side?
Yeah, I do.
So who are these people? Like who are the three stooges?
Larry, Curly, and Mo are the three
Oh,
stooges.
and they
I
put it
actually
all
am
on the
not.
same side.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
cool.
not 100% sure what the. I
that's
don't know
true.
the other ones. Ted, Jump, and Joe.
Oh, yeah, no idea. Okay. So, still a very back and forth game. I think also still well played on both ends.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. So that's all for the Peony group. So for this week, week 4, congratulations to Rapidazz, the Infernapes, we didn't deserve it. And then Shellder and Team Pocket Rocket for getting your wins for this week. We are exactly halfway through the match. I think I'm just gonna quickly jump to the leaderboard so we can see how things look as of now. I'm pretty sure this is 100% updated. Yeah, so the red side will be Rose, and then the purple side is Peony. And let me shift this up by 1. Yeah, so this is 1 to 9, right, from both ends. And yeah, Las Vegas Primarinas, you guys are way ahead of the competition. So
Let's go.
you guys can go ahead and meme for the rest of the 4 weeks and then lose all 4. Maybe you still make... Nah, I'm just kidding. Then, but we can see that, as usual, the Rose group is very polar. Like the winners always get more points, and then the losers kind of get less points. So it seems to be a very tough fight to get into the top 4 spot. For the teams from 5 to 9, seems like a tough fight. But I think if they just fight hard, maybe they win every match going forward. There's a high chance to climb up. Whereas for the Peony group, it seems very, very even. So like teams from 3 to even 8, I think everyone still has a shot to climb up. Yeah, and squeeze into the top 4 slot.
I think still in the Rose group, the 4th slot is very open because everyone's either 2 and 2 or 1 and 3. Whereas in the Peony group, the 4th place spot is 3 to 1, so it's a little bit tougher. But then, like, either way, there's still 4 games left, right? So there's plenty of time for anyone to change the rankings up. And then you guys actually are getting your differential up a lot for a team that says that they have no damage output. You're getting a lot of KOs.
That's because we got lucky and then we got 5 points this week. So yeah. And I think Shellder, Shellder is really picking things up. Yeah, tying our differential with 11. Doing very well.
Really good. Yeah. For a team with 1 loss, it's very, very good.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really good prep. Then yeah, I can see maybe now we can see maybe the Rapidazz. Maybe they just wanted to really improve their lineup because they haven't been taking those key KOs. They've been winning with differentials of 3, 4, sometimes 2. So not getting like the good score that they want. Maybe they want to use this week's trades, the trade into Dialga and Liepard. Maybe it can help them propel their differential up and get more points that way. Yeah. So I think those trades can also be reasonable after thinking things through. And then Setsuko actually said it was a team decision. Setsuko wanted to keep the Zacian. Maybe that's why he's so sad that Zacian's leaving.
It's too bad.
Yeah. So Kaz, do you have anything to say for the leaderboard? How do you get that 18 points?
I don't know. It's +5 every week. That's what you got to do.
Cool.
It was +5, +5, +4, +4,
Yeah,
but
4,
it's
4,
not
5,
going to
5.
last forever, so you can't expect it.
True.
I think we have our scariest matchup for our team this week. So
Against Omanytes, yeah.
Yeah, the double genie
very
is
scary.
very
Also,
good against that team.
I was happy with how we played that, so hopefully in the next 4 weeks we can keep doing it.
Yeah, Joe was barely awake and he was making all these calls.
I slept for 3 hours that night.
Yeah, I heard.
And I was coming off of being sick, and I was like also. So
yeah, I'm very grateful. We still ended up playing quite well on that one. This was actually, I think it was our best played one so far. It was against a really tough team as well, so.
Nice. Yeah, I think the more I look at the leaderboards, I really think that all the teams from like all the teams at the bottom of the list right now, they really have a good chance to fight back and climb very, very high.
Yeah, 100%.
Everyone still has a very equal shot at this point, even though we are at the halfway mark.
Hopefully everyone, even if you don't make playoffs, you can at least use the last 4 games as a chance to improve and try out different stuff in the league.
Makes sense, yeah. Then let's move on to the kill leaders. So this week, Man, Volcarona was sitting comfortable at 7 kills, but then this week he still had to take one more kill. Although, Omanytes lost their week, but Volcarona gained one more point, and now he's sitting back at the top. And look
I
at
think
that.
he said right. I think it's 2 KOs for Volcarona.
Was it 2? Oh, I think, yeah,
I think
maybe
so.
it was a typo.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go check it out. Then, interestingly, the next 2 mons that we see on the leaderboard, I kind of rigged it and then I put these 2 mons on top because it seems quite unlikely, right? Like for defensive steel types to get KOs, but then maybe it shows the power of body press in this game. Not only do you boost your defense, but you boost your damage output at the same time. So very cool having Skarmory and Registeel both at the top, showing how powerful a steel type is, maybe in this multi-battle format.
You should have done it alphabetical. It should be Registeel at 2, and then Skarmory at 3.
Okay.
It would be Garchomp at 2.
Yeah, true.
Oh yeah, then Garchomp should be 2, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want that.
I just
It's
put them
fine.
on top just for fun, like, so that we get to talk about like these, these strategies. They are still very common, like in the current VGC meta, and then seems to translate well here. So Volcanion, Garchomp, no surprise. Kingdra also no surprise. Kingdra so far max 3 times already. Look, Registeel is up on the board with one times max.
And look at that, Poppy, look at this. Kyogre's still up there. You guys did well with this thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so even though Surging Surfers dropped, and yeah, Kyogre is still showing to be a very powerful mon. See, like 4 weeks in, still sitting comfortable at 6 kills, and then it takes a lot for the rest of the mons to try and catch up. But then
You need to change that to homeless also, by the way. So.
Oh right. Yeah, let's do it.
Homeless.
Homeless. So yeah, Station 5 kills but homeless. And then we also have Politoed. Oh. Politoed's homeless too. Yeah, but this week Politoed worked so hard and he got 3 kills.
Poppy Kanton's baby. Yeah, that makes sense.
So okay, yeah, I think that's all we have for this week. Do you guys have any closing thoughts? Looking back at this week's matches, I feel like the matches are actually very well played, and then the prep level really increased. Like some of the prep was super insane, and there were very cool techs that came out from all our teams this week.
Yeah, maybe everyone's just understanding the format a little bit better. They're getting used to like what they drafted, and then they're making trades for stuff that they don't want anymore. So just in general, like the teamwork is improving. Like everyone's playing quite well. Like all the games have been super nice to watch. So good job.
Yeah, very well said.
Yeah, good job to everyone. But also the one thing I've noticed a bunch is to just try and keep your lines so that you can make switches on those lines, right? So.
Oh, you mean the player 1, player 2 slot?
Yeah. So exactly, the player 1, the player 2 slot. You just want to have it so, there's things like Solgaleo and Incineroar, both of them are weak to ground. You don't need to have those on the same line, type thing. Like if you had Rotom Mow in that slot, you could switch into a ground move, things like that. I mean, just looking at what you have on the screen right now.
I think that's good advice in general. Very, very good advice.
Just be careful of the lines. Like, just know that you can make switches because some of the moves are very predictable, and you also change what your opponent can do. So if they see that, they don't even click the Quake move, right? They won't even try. Sometimes they still do, but a lot of the times they don't.
Yeah. I would say that Pokepels are not too bad this week. Like, Latios is always protecting Cobalion and Toko from super effective
from the
moves.
ground move.
Like ground move.
Yeah.
Even water move into Toko and fighting move into Cobalion. So this was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Cobalion protects Latios as well from the dragon move.
Yep.
So, like, that's if we pay attention to those, I think like people will do a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I
they'll
think it's
get
hard
further in the game.
Or no, it's easy to miss that type of stuff though anyway, because you're used to just having your 4 in VGC, and then in this one, you really have to pay attention to what slot you have something in, what moves you might want to switch into, stuff like that.
Nice. Cool. Wow, that was the 2-hour mark. I think this week we talked a little bit more because of the trades at the beginning. Yeah.
Mm.
And then also shout outs thanks to KS for joining us so we get to talk less. That was good, that was fun. Like I think this is very constructive and we really managed to cover as much as we could. You know, all 8 matches that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Or
Thank
thanks
you.
for letting me invite myself, you know.
Yep. Okay, so I think that's all that we have for week 4. As a coordinator, I'm very glad that we actually reached the halfway mark. And once again, you know, I can't say this enough. Thanks to everyone who tried your best to get your matches in time. Like this week, one of our matches had to be today, just since 7 or 6 hours ago. But at least it was still, you know, at least within the week, like within the Monday. So thank you again to all our coaches for like setting aside the time, you know, finding 4 people to connect together and then getting all your matches in within the week. Yeah, because I know that, you know, prepping for multi-battle, it might be quite tough for some people who are new. So it seems like Joe is right. Everyone is getting the hang of things, like working better as a team. Yeah, and then I think all the matches we have this week are very good quality.